Hey, you. Imagine this: you're living your best life building a thriving community, creating your own written language, even publishing your own newspaper. Then, in a heartbeat, it's all ripped away. Soldiers storm your home, force you out, and make you march 800 miles through a brutal winter. This isn't a movie. This is the Cherokee Trail of Tears, one of the darkest chapters in American history. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna feel this story in your bones and you'll never see history the same way again. Let's dive in. So, what's the Trail of Tears? If you've heard the term but aren't sure what it means, don't worry, I got you. In the 1830s, the Cherokee people, one of the most advanced Native American nations, were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands in the southeast United States. We're talking Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, places they called home for centuries. They were marched over 800 miles to what's now Oklahoma, and thousands died along the way. But this isn't just a history lesson. It's a story of resilience, betrayal, and a fight for survival that still echoes today. Why should you care? Because the story isn't just about the past. It's about understanding the cost of greed, the strength of culture, and what happens when power ignores justice. Plus, I'm gonna share some jaw-dropping facts and stories you've probably never heard before, like how the Cherokee created their own alphabet in record time, or how one man's defiance almost changed history. What's a historical event that's hit you hard or made you rethink everything? Drop it in the comments, I'm curious. The Cherokee Golden Age. Picture this: it's the early 1800s, and the Cherokee Nation is thriving. They're not just surviving, they're out here innovating. They've got log cabins, cotton farms, schools, churches, even a police force. They're blending their traditional ways with European-style systems, creating a society that's the envy of their neighbors. By 1827, they've got a written constitution and hold national elections. I mean, come on, how many communities were pulling that off back then? But the real game changer, a guy named Sequoyah. This Cherokee genius creates a written alphabet called a syllabary from scratch. No formal education, no blueprint. In just a few years, nearly every Cherokee can read and write. They even launched the Cherokee Phoenix, the first Native American newspaper, printed in both Cherokee and English. Imagine the pride of seeing your language in print for the first time. Okay, let's pause. If you could invent something as wild as your own alphabet, what would it be? A new ape language for your friend group? Hit the comments with your ideas, I'm reading every single one. But here's the thing: this golden age made the Cherokee a target. Their neighbors in Georgia saw all this progress and thought, why should they have this land? Greed was about to rear its ugly head. The storm gathers. By the 1820s, the Cherokee Nation is under siege, not with weapons, but with laws and lies. Their land, once spanning 8 states, had already been reduced by 90% through treaties and pressure from the U.S. government. Then, in 1828, two things happen that change everything. First, Andrew Jackson becomes president. This guy, not a fan of Native Americans. He once said the Cherokee, living among a superior race, had to disappear. Yikes. His words weren't just talk, they were a battle cry. Second, gold is discovered on Cherokee land. Cue chaos. Picture thousands of white settlers flooding in, panning for gold, trampling farms, and claiming land that wasn't theirs. The Cherokee couldn't even fight back legally because Georgia passed laws stripping them of their rights. They couldn't testify in court, hold council meetings, or mine their own gold. Imagine someone showing up at your house, saying, "I found gold in your backyard, so it's mine now. How would you feel? Angry, helpless? Drop a comment, let us talk about it. The Cherokee fought back the only way they could, through the courts. Their leader, Chief John Ross, took their case to the U.S. Supreme Court in a landmark case called Worcester v. Georgia. In 1832, Chief Justice John Marshall ruled that the Cherokee Nation was sovereign, and Georgia had no right to mess with them. Victory, right? Nope. Jackson basically said, "Cool story, but I'm ignoring it." Can you believe that the President of the United States just shrugged off the Supreme Court? What do you think about a leader who picks and chooses which laws to follow? Sound off below. The Indian Removal Act and betrayal. In 1830, Jackson gets his way with the Indian Removal Act, a law that called for the forced removal of 5 southern tribes including the Cherokee to lands west of the Mississippi. The vote in Congress was razor close, passing by just 5 votes. Citizen groups across the U.S. sent petitions begging Congress to stop, calling it immoral and destructive. But greed won. The Cherokee were now on borrowed time. Georgia held a lottery, yes, a lottery to give away Cherokee land to white settlers. Imagine winning a house that still got a family living in it. That's what happened. Militias started kicking Cherokee families out, sometimes at gunpoint. Then, a gut punch, a small group of Cherokee leaders, desperate to save their people, signed the Treaty of New Echota in 1835. It agreed to removal, but here's the kicker: 90% of the Cherokee opposed it. Chief John Ross and thousands of others sent a massive petition to Congress, pages upon pages of signatures, pleading to stay. This petition was their last hope. Almost every Cherokee signed it, from kids to elders. They were saying, "This is our home." But Congress ignored it. Have you ever felt like your voice didn't matter? Maybe in a school project, a job, or even a bigger issue? Share your story in the comments. I'm all ears. The Trail of Tears begins, May 1838. The roundup begins. 6,000 federal and state troops storm Cherokee country, dragging men, women, and children from their homes. They're herded into prison camps, think Fort Cass and Ross' Landing, where disease and despair take hold. The heat is unbearable, food is scarce, and traditional medicines are out of reach. One missionary, Daniel Buttrick, wrote that half the infants and elderly died in those camps. Half. Let that sink in. I read that quote, and it hit me hard. These were babies, grandparents, people who done nothing wrong. What's a moment in history that's made you stop and feel like that? Drop it below. Let's honor those stories. The march itself was brutal. Over 16,000 Cherokee were forced to walk 800 miles through scorching summers and freezing winters. Some went by barge, but drought made the rivers too low, so most walked. Families carried what little they could. The elderly and sick rode in wagons if they were lucky. At least 2,000 died on the trail from starvation, disease, or exhaustion. But here's something incredible: the Cherokee didn't just give up. Chief John Ross convinced General Winfield Scott to let the Cherokee manage their own removal. 13 detachments, led by Cherokee leaders, set out. They passed resolutions in those prison camps, declaring their nation's sovereignty even as they faced doom. That's the kind of strength that gives me chills. Facing the worst, they still said, "We are a nation." What's something you've done to stand up for what you believe in, no matter the odds? I'd love to hear it. Comment below. The Aftermath and Resilience. By March 1839, the last detachment reached Oklahoma. The Cherokee had lost so much: homes, loved ones, their ancestral lands. But they didn't break. They rebuilt. They set up new communities, revived their government, and kept their culture alive. Today, the Cherokee Nation is one of the largest Native American tribes, with over 400,000 citizens. Their major employers in Oklahoma run their own schools and preserve their language through programs and apps. The Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, descendants of those who hid in the North Carolina mountains, also thrives, blending tradition with modern life. In 1987, Congress established the Trail of Tears National Historic Trail to honor this history. Sites like Blythe Ferry and Village Creek let visitors walk the paths where Cherokee feet left deep marks. This isn't just history, it's a legacy. The Cherokee turned tragedy into triumph. What's a time you or someone you know turned a setback into a comeback? Share it in the comments. I'm dying to read these. Emotional, insightful twist. Here's the thing. The Trail of Tears isn't just a Cherokee story. It's an American story. It forces us to ask hard questions. How do we balance progress with justice? What happens when greed drowns out humanity? And what can we learn from a people who, against all odds, kept their spirit alive in 2025? We're still grappling with these questions. Look at land disputes, environmental battles, or even debates over cultural heritage. The Cherokee's fight reminds us that resilience isn't just surviving, it's rebuilding stronger. Their story challenges us to stand up, speak out, and honor the voices that history tried to silence. So, I'm asking you, what's one thing you can do today to amplify a voice that's been ignored? Maybe it's learning more, sharing this video, or starting a conversation. Let me know your plan in the comments. I'm holding you to it. Wow, we just went on a journey together. The Cherokee Trail of Tears is a story of heartbreak, but it's also a story of hope. If this video moved you, hit that like button. It tells YouTube to share this story with more people. And if you're new here, subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's untold stories. I want to hear from you. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Maybe it was Sequoia's genius, John Ross's fight, or the Cherokee's resilience. Drop it in the comments, and let us keep this conversation going. Oh, and if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share this video with them. Let us make sure the Cherokee's legacy lives on. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep shining. I'll see you in the next video.